I'm going to show you how to make two of my favorite on-the-go snacks. The first one is trail mix, made with nuts, seeds, and my favorite dried fruit. So this is really easy. I hate to even call it a recipe because you're literally throwing in nuts and seeds, dried fruit, coconut, even some dark chocolate chips if you want, into a bowl, and that's it. So I like to start with seeds. My favorite are pumpkin seeds and sunflower seeds. So I'm going to do about a cup of pumpkin seeds. And again, this is such a loose recipe that you really don't have to measure anything. You can totally eyeball it. But I like to just do this just for portion concern. So here are, these are lightly salted sunflower seeds. So I would definitely do lightly salted or unsalted. And then with nuts, I really love walnuts or almonds. But today I'm going to use some walnuts. About a cup of those. And then we have coconut, which is great. It's a great source of saturated fat in terms of it has a lot of medium chain triglycerides. I talk about coconut oil all the time for its health benefits, so this is great to add in. And I'm going to do about a half a cup. And I actually have two versions of this. So I have the shredded version and then, the flaked version and then the shredded. So the shredded is just a different type of texture, and I like to have both of those in there. Next, dried cranberries, because they're really sweet, but they're also super tart. So I'm going to do about a half a cup of those. And again, this is really just your personal preference, so just have fun with it. And then with cashews, I like raw, unsalted cashews. And I'm going to do about a half a cup of those. Next, I have apricots here, and these are unsulfured. So if you notice, most of the ones in the store are bright orange. So those ones are the sulfured, and that just means that it has a preservative and a chemical that almost allows it to retain its color. So I really don't care how beautiful they are. I'm just worried about the nutritional value, and I don't mind eating brown apricots if they don't have that ingredient on it. So I'm just going to quarter these. And you can put in as many as you want. I'm going to probably put in about a half a cup of these. You can get away with not chopping the really, really small ones. So I'm just going to kind of pick through here and get all the small ones. And then next, I'm going to add dried mulberries. So mulberries are great. They're really high in fiber. Here in Nashville, we actually have about 3 mulberry trees in our backyard, which was an amazing discovery in the spring because we have tons of fresh mulberries that are just falling from the trees all season long. These ones are the white mulberries, but ours are purple, so you can use any variety. I highly recommend trying them because they're really crunchy, very sweet but tart at the same time, so it's almost like a cranberry in that way. And then you're just going to stir them. Stir all of this together so it looks something like that. It's really beautiful. And like I said, this is a really great combination of energizing nutrients. So you have your carbohydrates from your dried fruits, you have fiber in those as well, then you have all of your healthy fats, especially with the coconut, and then with the nuts and seeds, they contain protein and fiber as well. So it's a really good combination to keep you going. So that's that. And what I typically do is I have these really cute small mason jars, and I'll just fill them up. And this to me is a serving. I think this holds probably a little over 1/4 of a cup. And I just pack it in there and just screw on the lid. And that's super simple on-the-go snack. You can fill up quite a bit of these. I mean, the more mason jars you have at home, I think it's better just to prepare and just have them for the week ahead. So I have tons of these, but I'm not going to show you how to fill a dozen of them. Otherwise, I'll just keep them in a Ziploc bag or in a really large mason jar and then just prep them as the week goes on. And that's it. The next snack that I'm going to share with you today to make for on the go or just around the house when you just need a quick bite are energy truffles. So the base of them are dates, nuts, seeds, a nut butter of some sort. So today I'm going to use peanut butter. but I do love cashew butter, almond butter in them as well. And then some rolled oats, a little bit of sea salt, vanilla extract, and then some really fun things like bee pollen, hemp seeds, and shredded coconut. So to start, you'll definitely need a high-speed blender for this, like a Vitamix, or you could use a food processor just with a really sharp blade. So you're going to start just by pitting your dates, and you really want these super soft. So if you can see, they're really squishy, very, very fresh dates. If your dates are dried and they're a little bit too hard, what I recommend is to just soak them in boiling water for about 3 minutes, and then that should get them really plump and super soft, ready to use. So I'm just gonna do about 2 cups of fresh, soft dates. Now this will make 20 energy truffles, if not more, if you make them about a tablespoon in size. And that's really only, what you need, maybe even 2 of those at a time. Okay, and then we're gonna do about a pinch of sea salt. I typically get my nut butters salt-free so that I can personally adjust the sodium content. So that's just a tip. If you're already getting a nut butter that has sodium, then I probably would go really, really light-handed on that one. And then vanilla extract, and then some maple syrup. So the dates are really, really sweet already. The maple syrup is just for a binder. So I'm gonna start with just about 1/4 of a cup. And then you can always add a little bit more if you need a little extra help for them to become bound together. So then I'm gonna add about 1 cup of walnuts, maybe a little extra, and then about 1 cup of sunflower seeds too. And again, these are lightly salted and lightly and roasted a little bit, just on the skillet, just for a little taste. And then about 1/2 cup of rolled oats. Okay, and this is where you can put your blender to test, because it's gonna get really loud. And you'll probably use your tamper for this because you're gonna need it. You're gonna need a little extra help. What I typically do is start by pulsing it. That way everything can kind of fall to the bottom and the base, and the blender gets a little bit coated with the maple syrup. And then you can ramp it up a little bit better. Okay, so now that this is well combined, it won't be pureed. It's still gonna be really chunky, and that's exactly what you want. So clear a space and get your mixing bowl, and then we're just gonna pour it in here. Now I use a wooden spoon and just kind of work around the edges to loosen everything up, because again, it's gonna be really, really sticky. And this is the exact texture that you want. So if you see that it's too liquidy for you, what I would do is I would just quickly add in some rolled oats so it can start to absorb some of the liquid, or you can add in just additional nuts and seeds. And if it's too dry, on the opposite, just add a little bit more maple syrup, or even just like a couple tablespoons of water. I really wouldn't go heavy-handed on the water. Okay, you could really stop here, but I like to get every last bit in here. Okay, so now that that's done, I recommend getting your fingertips just a little bit wet. So I just coat it with water, or even coconut oil works really, really well. And you're just gonna get in here and almost act like you're kneading bread dough. And then you're gonna take about 1 tablespoon of the mixture and just roll them in a ball. It's just like that size. And set them aside. And so you'll repeat this with the entire batter until you have all of your truffles formed. And then what I typically do is I just put them on a really big plate or a cookie sheet, and then just transfer them to the refrigerator and chill them for about 30 minutes up to 2 hours, just to get them really firm. And then you can roll them into shredded coconut or bee pollen, hemp seeds, raw cacao nibs, or just eat them plain. They're really, really good just like this. Okay, so now that you have all of your truffles formed, like I said, you can leave them plain and just as is. They're really delicious. It almost tastes like a peanut butter no-bake cookie. Or you can roll it into, like I said earlier, some fun toppings. So I'm just going to start rolling a couple in some shredded coconut. And this is unsweetened shredded coconut. So it's just a couple like that. And then some of them in some hemp seeds. And hemp seeds are really great sources of protein, omega-3 fatty acids, and they taste really great. So that's just a really great energy boost. And then bee pollen, which is one of my favorite superfoods, if you want to call it. But it's loaded with B vitamins, and that obviously is just immediate energy. So you can just continue going in this fashion until all of them are coated, or like I said, you can just leave them plain. Another really fun coating is cocoa powder. Or if you want to make a little bit of raw chocolate, you can mix cocoa powder with some coconut oil until it becomes like a fine chocolate sauce, and then coat them in that. And then if you put it in the refrigerator, it hardens, almost like those magic shells. If you're all familiar with magic shell, it's like a horrible chocolate like coating that you put on ice cream. But anyway, the point is that it hardens, so that's a really fun topping. So you'll just repeat this process until all of them are coated, or just leaving some plain. And then I store these in the refrigerator for at least a half hour to let this set again. And then if I'm on the go, I'll just put these in little mason jars, which are my favorite. So I'll typically put in about 2 or 3, depending on how big you made them. So in this example, I'll just kind of show it to you overflowing, but here's 3. And then you'll just secure it with a lid, and you're good to go. It's the easiest snack you can bring with you, and it's also great just to have at home. Like when I'm working at home and I just want a quick bite, they're just great sitting in the refrigerator, and just pop them in and enjoy. So I hope you love them.